Yes. So it's lead into a next question, which is the minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, around the world, most countries they have minimum wage,
Hmm.
and it's to help people being exploited by companies with low wage. That's the public description of it, right? But when you come to startup, right? Say if a minimum wage in New Zealand is $20, I think $20 an hour. But if you're a startup, you're low on cash, and then you're trying to find people, and then somebody willing to work for you for $10 an hour on their own free will. You're not trying to like push them to do anything. But the government say, oh, you can't work, right? So now he need money. The employee need money, and he willing to work for $10 an hour, and the guy can only afford $10 an hour, and now because now the government say you can't work, so nobody is moving anywhere. What do you think about that?
I think regulations are what regulations are in a particular country.
Yeah,
So therefore, uh, you should think about where you are going to incorporate and trade.
yeah,
Maybe you want to pick a country where there's a bit more flexibility.
right.
You have countries where it's more difficult and your cost base will be higher because you have social charges, you have a minimum
Yeah,
wage,
yeah,
salaries you have to pay people,
yeah,
and that will be reflected in your price.
yeah,
And usually the consumer is used to higher prices because of that reason.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so and in other country will be different because maybe you don't have a minimum wage and you don't suffer with some regulation. In France, when you pay someone €100, I think half of it goes to the government one way or another. So it's huge for company, huge burden, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so and we don't have that cost charge, that cost charge here, right?
yeah.
The thing in Thailand, the minimum wage is from 337 baht to 400 baht, and depends on
All right.
where
Yeah,
you are, right,
yeah,
located. It's not the same.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
uniform across the
Right,
country.
right.
So and it's been increased in January, I think, this year by about 7 baht.
Okay.
So it's not
Right.
huge, right? So that cost base is in most places. Again, I come back to your previous question, which is is that going to stifle companies' growth and sort of not allowing them to recruit people, etc. I say, well, go back to your freelancer, go back to other
Yeah,
sources of support
yeah,
within your environment. Look where you incorporate,
yeah,
because that will drive your corporate tax, the corporate,
yeah,
all these
yeah,
kind of things, cost of accounting, cost of finance,
yeah,
everything. So if it's too expensive for what you plan to do, well, go somewhere else. Do it somewhere else, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I think this question apply more to normal businesses than startup because, as you said, startup you can get freelancer, go to Fiverr, go to contractors to do those. But see, if you're a restaurant and you need some waiters or some chef, and then that's a real problem. You can't really source that out to freelancer or contractor. You need full time people on your on premise,
Sure, and
right?
that affects
Yeah,
what I said earlier on. That affects
yeah,
your cost structure, and therefore
yeah,
that affects the price you're selling your product
yeah,
or your
yeah,
service.
yeah,
And people, the consumer, will
yeah,
tend in this particular geography
yeah,
will be used to that
yeah,
price,
yeah.
right?
So basically, what I mean is like, so for that sort of business, they need higher capital to start, right? Because now they have to take into account how many people you employ,
Sure.
minimum wage, right?
So the capital
Yeah,
investment into this might be
yeah,
higher, and it's part of your cost structure,
yeah, yeah,
where you know that, well, if you start here
yeah,
in this particular location,
yeah,
then maybe you're in the street with a restaurant where the rent of that location is actually very high because it's close to where people go. It's like an attraction,
yeah,
close to an attraction, you name it, right? So, but that's part of your business plan. You know that in advance.
yeah,
And doing your plan and your investigation and how this business is going to work is going to tell you whether you want to take the risk and go ahead or not,
yeah,
right? So, and in the case of startup, you also have the flexibility to now work remote,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
that's very common in Web3, right? Where they
yeah,
build
yeah,
huge, magnificent products,
yeah,
and nobody's ever met each other,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
and that's great. That works for them.
yeah,
But
yeah,
there are other services where you're right; it's not possible. You have bricks and mortars,
yeah,
or you have to fill them with a service people,
yeah,
a chef and cook, whatever,
yeah,
and then look at your business plan and whether that's going to work
yeah,
out.
yeah,
My wife has a restaurant, and when we started, I can tell you what, the cost of the she sells cacamousse,
Yeah.
braised pork legs,
Yeah.
and it's very famous with Thai, right? They
Yeah,
eat that
yeah.
as a brunch or something. It's very good.
Yeah.
And when we started, the cost of the pig per kilo was around 70 baht per kilogram. Now it's gone to 150,
Right.
right? So really hard to anticipate. But I've learned that this is seasonal. So during
Right.
the dry season, the supply of pigs is actually shorter, so therefore prices go up. But when it's the rainy season, where it's actually easier to, graze the pigs
Yeah.
and grow them, etc., and breed them, then the price, you have more quantity and the price goes down. So I didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
But that's part of the business plan that you should be looking at, and no
Yeah.
surprise if you can't afford that place, that location, then move to another place, right?
Yeah.
Where you might be successful.
Yeah.
And if it's too expensive, then do it from home, and your chef, be the chef at home, and get
Ghost
Grab to
kitchen.
and then get the delivery, just sell on delivery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm David Beckham. From Auckland, New Zealand.